this whole thing?
It looks like, I think, Ben, are you recording? I'm about to get out so that you guys record.
I just started recording. If Benita, you want to record also, and then we can go from there.
Marcus, what exactly is your connection to the family?
I'm their official family spokesperson.
Right.
I run a political human civil rights organization called Save Ourselves.
That's right. I remember hearing that. Okay, fine.
Listen.
Got it. Okay. Are we good to go, Ben?
Yes, we should be good. Benita and I are both recording. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Jacqueline, would you just give me your name on camera, please?
Jacqueline Johnson.
And Marcus, same thing, please.
Marcus Coleman.
Okay, Ms. Jacqueline, you know, most folks watching this won't have had a chance to meet Kendrick. And I always think it's important to talk about the living, right? But the lives they led, not just about how they passed. So, what kind of a kid was Kendrick?
Kendrick was a fun kid. He was the joy of our house. He was the baby boy, so you know he was a little bit spoiled, and we were a little bit more lenient on Kendrick, but he was the joy of our house. We were a different type family. We used to like wrestle and do water fights in the house. Like a lot of people would get mad about it. But, you know, we were like just glued to each other. And Kendrick was the type of person that he come in the house and the whole room light up. Like his sister had already finished school, and Kendrick would just come in the house and he would just run and jump on her back and make her so mad. They'd be running around in the house. She'd be chasing him. She'd be so mad. But, you know, those are the things that we remember, the good times. We used to barbecue, and Kendrick used to be said, I sure wish y'all hurry up and, you know, be ready to see the rest of the family get together and stuff. It just...
He sounds like a little bit of a rascal.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay. And so also sounds like somebody brought a lot of life into the house, right? I mean, a lot of joy to his mama, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So let's talk about what happened. I mean, so he disappeared one afternoon, is that right?
Yes, on January the 10th, 2013.
And so what walk me through what happened.
Well, on January the 10th, Kendrick didn't come home off the school bus. I drove school buses for the Lowndes County school system. And Kendrick would ride a bus to the high school and ride back to the bus yard to get back in the car with me. So when his bus driver came through, I was already there waiting for him. And I asked her, where was Kendrick? She said, well, he didn't get on the bus. Was he supposed to? And I was just like, well, maybe he stayed out of the game or something, because he would normally let us know, you know, if he's finna stay out of the game, he gonna contact somebody. But Kendrick didn't contact nobody at all that day. So we started calling around to each other and trying to figure out, you know, what was going on with Kendrick.
And so I'm sure that was a rough night for you when he didn't come home. And then the next day they find him. Well, I don't want to poke at your pain here, man, but what was that moment like for you?
That was the worst, I'll say, one of the worst days, beginning of my life, like waiting and praying and hoping that Kendrick still came through that door. But, you know, once the hours began to keep going by, deep down in my heart as a mother, I knew something was wrong, because Kendrick and them knew that I didn't play about them coming in the house on a school night, no 10 o'clock. You not letting nobody know where you were at, and nobody has heard from you. So in my heart of being a mother, I knew something was wrong.
And when your worst fears come true the next day and they find him, how do you begin to describe that kind of loss?
It just sucked the whole life out of me. Like, I'm just still not believing that my child is dead. Like, no, I'm just praying like that's somebody else's child. It's not that it's nobody else's child, but that's just not true.
And even today, I mean, it's been 8 years, right? I mean, you feel that loss every day?
Every day, every second of the hour. You can wake up in the morning like having a good day, but the least little thing, the little smell, or somebody walk by that look like Kendrick, or somebody that, you know, just bringing up Kendrick's name, it's just your whole day is just wrecked, and you can't rectify it. It's just all over with. You just in that depressed mode, and you can't come out of it.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this story when it first happened. In part because it was so with a wrestling match. The whole thing was so unusual, right? And I know that you were. They started investigating, and you had high hopes that they would get to what you thought was the bottom of it, and yet they ruled it an accident. Did you see it as an accident?
No, never. There's no way.
What? I'm sorry. Go ahead. What do you think it was?
I know it was murder. Like, the stories that they gave us, there's no way. And then by me knowing my child, there's no way my son would try to wiggle into a mat that was 14 inches wide, and his shoulders were 17 to 19 inches. So there's no way that he could wiggle in there. And then to try to think that a person that know better, that plays, he played basketball, he ran track, and he played football. Your big old body's not going to be able to get down there. And if you wiggling yourself in there trying to get to the bottom of the mat, you can't get back up. So, how?
So what do you think happened?
I know that my son was beat to death and rolled up in the mat. I'm not going to even say think again. I know my son was beat to death because Kendrick had braces in his life. His teeth was messed up. His lip was swollen. I know my child from living with him for 17 years. He was bruised all up. Kendrick had perfect skin, perfect teeth.
And no way in your mind it was an accident?
No way.
So I know and then you hired your own, you had a separate autopsy done, and they ruled that there was blunt force trauma, and it was not an accident,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And at that point, you probably had hopes that there would be charges at some point.
Yes.
So here we are 7 years later, no charges against anybody. What is that like for you?
It was just like another slap in the face, but with the people that we have dealt with in the city of Valdosta, I kind of knew that they wasn't going to do anything, but because that's how they are, if it ain't one of your friends or somebody that you know of, they're not going to do anything about it. They're going to try to allegedly pay people off and get them on their way, but we were not their family. We want to know what happened to Kendrick Johnson, why nothing has been done, and why nobody has been held accountable. And like I always tell them, they mess around and got the wrong family, because we're not going nowhere till we get down to the bottom of the truth and nothing but facts that happened with Kendrick Johnson.
It's 8 years later. We both know Kendrick's not coming back. So why is it so important to you?
It's important because, one, he was my child. He didn't bother nobody. And two, Kendrick life matter.
And that's your message?
Yes.
Pushing forward with this investigation?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you something, Marcus. I know this has been, this case has been divisive in that community. Why do you think it has been so divisive?
I believe you said you're out of Marietta. I'm out of Atlanta. But we know if we go in any direction, north, south, east, or west, in about 20 or 25 minutes, then you're in the red clay sticks of Georgia. And Lowndes County holds true to that preservation of time of this southern state, this Bible Belt state, this home of the Confederacy, literally state. I just want to reiterate something. You learn when you're in preschool that you can't fit around a square peg in a round hole. I mean, just that simple. And not even just the one autopsy. I can't even imagine, I can being with this family, but I have two sons myself. They exhumed their child's remains for a second time, and there's 3 autopsies. Autopsy 2 and 3, identical in blunt force trauma against the bogus positional fixation. I just want to note this real quick. Both autopsies 2 and 3 were able to come to that determination because of severe hemorrhaging around the main artery in Kendrick's neck. That coincides or hand in glove with the original EMT's report when they pulled Kendrick out of that mat. They noted that Kendrick had severe hemorrhaging around his main artery. Not to mention, Kendrick was missing every single every single organ in his body. Not to mention that he was missing his entire tongue and windpipe. Not to consider that all of Kendrick's fingernails were cut down to the point of bruising. Not to mention that the clothes that Kendrick wore, the clothes that his mother and his father saw him leave on January 10th have still never been found.
Let me ask you this. Let me go back to the first thing you talked about. You talked, basically saying red state. I think you're implying separate approaches to justice. Probably one black, one white. I mean, has this case, in your mind, been ignored for so long because the victim was a black kid?
Well, I'm glad you went back there, sir. Kendrick was found on January 11th, April of 2013. April of 2013, the sheriff's department closes the investigation. But they close it and label it an accident before the autopsy report was even out. That was the big thing. It was all in the media back then. How can you determine the cause of death if there's been no autopsy? So, not only do they have a distant justice system in various parts of this country, but definitely the red clay of Georgia being one. It's not just about the judge, jury, and executioner by officers on the side of the road that black and brown and low-income communities have a problem with. It's the botched investigations, or the no investigations, or the non-thorough investigations. Kendrick's case literally went from Lowndes County Sheriff's Department, assisted with Mount Austin PD, the GBI, which is where the first autopsy was done, 2 U.S. attorneys' offices, including the FBI, Middle District of Georgia, and the Northern District of Ohio. But people fail to forget that Kendrick's case was governed out of Washington, D.C. from the Department of Justice. Kendrick's case has literally done a 360 all the way to D.C., now back in Lowndes County. We're ecstatic about that because at the federal level, all the charges that you could possibly get are a violation to Kendrick's civil rights. There is no murder. There is no manslaughter. Or there wasn't any murder. There wasn't any manslaughter. Now that this investigation has been reopened in the sheriff's department, we feel like those array of charges that literally fit what happened to Kendrick can now be applied.
And what do you think those charges will be?
Murder. Will be. We're hoping, sir, we're cautiously optimistic that murder will be dealt down here. When the feds closed the investigation in July of 2016, they told Mr. and Mrs. Johnson 2 things. Number one, they excluded me from the meeting. Fine, even though I helped coordinate it. But they also excluded their counsel. They met with 2 U.S. attorneys' offices and a representative of the head of the homicide division out of D.C. with no counsel. And in that meeting, they were told 2 chilling flags. One, the shoe that was up under Kendrick's body, inside of the mat that was sitting on a pool of blood, didn't have a drop of blood on the top of the shoe. Very strange for you to get blood all around and up under, but none on top. They told them that the government, that they know that shoe was placed there. Chilling red flag 1. 2, at that point in time, it had only been 2 autopsies. They told Mr. and Mrs. Johnson that they know the second autopsy is the most accurate, blood force trauma. But yet there was not enough evidence to point to any individuals as far as a violation of Kendrick's civil rights. You had to prove that he was not only murdered, but murdered with a racial biasness. And it was not enough evidence to point to any individuals or one individual. Therefore, we must close the case. So if they were given that information at the close of the case in 2016 on a federal level, in 17 boxes, each one representing a year of Kendrick's life that me, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson like to feel is symbolic, we feel like there is a clear path to what they closed the case with, saying that the second autopsy, now the second and third, is the most accurate.
Okay. Ms. Junkin, I know my image is frozen here, but you can hear me. Is that right?
Mm-hmm, I can hear you.
Oh, yes, ma'am. All right. So, I've covered a lot of these kinds of cases over the years where you have a mama like you looking for justice and basically not going to stop until you get it. I mean, and you often hear no justice, no peace. Is this a case of no justice, no peace?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
And why is that, ma'am?
I'll say again, my son's life mattered. Kendrick deserved justice. Kendrick was in one of the places that should have been the safest place for him to be at. Kendrick wasn't on no corner. Kendrick was at school trying to get his education so he can go on to do what his plans and goals were in life.
And what were his goals? Was he a senior or a junior?
He was a junior.
He's a junior.
Sophomore.
What did he want to do?
He wanted to play professional football.
Got it. Okay. All right. And do you think do you think you know who did it, or do you have a guess who did it, or are you wide open?
Well, I mean, it's all across the media who allegedly done it, and that's just what I stay to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, ma'am, for doing that. Thank you, Marcus, too. Appreciate you both. Is there anything else, ma'am, that you'd like to say that you wish I had asked you? Because I would.
No.
Or did you cover it up? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you. I wish you luck and I wish you peace.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Marcus.
so much, and please stay in touch with us about any updates or anything like that. We want to make sure we stay on this. You have my cell phone number, so please, let's stay in touch so that we can continue with any updates that you guys have.
Oh, sure will.
For the record, we've agreed to meet back up with Sheriff Polk in 90 days. 90 days from last Friday.
Okay.
Great. So we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. It's some news channel was asking the questions. So, hey everybody.